Okay, thank you.
Okay, would you like me to do roll call to officially
Okay, well,
start?
here, I'll get started and we'll lead into that.
Okay,
Uh, yeah, because we want to do this in a sequence. Well, first of all, good morning and welcome. We are the Community Advisory Board. We're known as CAB, and we're a board that was established by the Community Corrections Partnership. I want to first set the table here for board members and then for those in the audience with some, I'll call them some brief housekeeping items. For those in the public, please keep your participation on mute until called upon by raising your hand. For those of you on the phone, *6 to mute and *6 again to unmute. And our process is that we'll hear comments first from individuals on the board. We want to give the board members the opportunity to speak first. And then after that, members from the public, you are welcome to comment, etc. Now let's pause and review the purpose, which is, and that is the purpose of CAB, which is to advise CCP by assessing the implementation of the county strategic plan. Some, but not all of our responsibilities are reviewing data on realignment outcomes. We want to offer recommendations for ongoing realignment planning and encouraging outcomes that are consistent with the county strategic plan. Would you now provide the roll call?
okay. Crawford Carpenter,
Here.
Nicole Green,
Here.
Lanita Mims,
Here.
Ozzy Carter,
Present.
Brenda Lee, I think she's working on her iPad. I'll come back to Brenda. Latanya Thompson,
Here.
Reverend Julius Van Hook. I'll come back.
Here.
Okay,
Here.
thank you. Rena Moore,
Here.
Scott Parsons,
Here.
Justin Van Zerper,
Here.
Evan Decker.
Present.
Okay, and then Brenda Lee. She's
She's
here.
waiting.
Okay, all right. 11 board members are present and we have one absent member.
Okay, and note there, let's just make a note, he's in the, I won't say in the process of childbirth, but he's assisting with that. We'll better make a note for him. He gets
Okay,
special dispensation.
all right.
Okay. Now let's move to those that are in the audience. Let's do staff first. Would you start with yourself, please, Monique, and then we'll
Okay.
move to Jill.
Absolutely. So my name is Monique Tate and I'm the program coordinator with the Office of Reentry and Justice. Jill Ray.
Hi there, Jill Ray with Supervisor Candace Anderson's office, which is District 2, which is the Lamarinda area through the San Ramon Valley.
Okay, and then Jamie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Jeanette. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist with the County Health, Housing, and Homeless Services Division.
Okay, and Jana, please.
Good morning, everybody. Janet Evans, Lead Reentry Specialist for the Game Plan for Success program with the Office of Education, working inside the jails. Good to be here.
Okay, Crawford, would you like each board member to say hello and introduce themselves?
Yes, why don't we do
Okay,
that?
let's start with you.
Okay, I'm Crawford Carpenter. I've been a board member here for 3 years. Pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, Nicole Green.
Sorry, my name is Nicole Green. I am also a board member going on my 3rd year. I'm happy to be here today.
Lanita Mims.
Good morning, everyone. I am Lanita Mims. I am going into my 2nd year here on CAB.
Ozzy Carter.
Good morning, everyone. Ozzy Carter. This is my 3rd year, and very grateful to be here this morning.
Okay, and Brenda Lee.
I'm Brenda Lee. This is my 1st year. I think it's my 2nd or 3rd meeting.
Okay, Latanya Thompson.
Good morning. This is Latanya Thompson, and this is my first year as a board member.
Okay, Reverend Van Hook.
Reverend Julius Van Hook. This is my first year as a board member.
Okay, Rena Moore.
Hello, my name is Rena Moore. This is my first year as a board member.
Scott Parsons.
Hello, year one under my belt and a resident of Moraga.
Justin Van Zerber.
Good morning, Justin Van Zerber, resident of El Cerrito. This is my second meeting, I believe, as a board member.
Okay, and Evan Decker.
Good morning, Evan Decker, Dean of Workforce and Economic Development at Contra Costa College. This is my first year as a board member.
Okay. I will display the agenda in just 1 second, Crawford. I just want to do the full screen mode. Okay. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Okay, we've covered our first area, or we're still on item number 1 on our agenda. We've welcomed you, hopefully. We've introduced the individuals. Oh, wait a minute. I noticed Charles has joined us. Do you want to introduce yourself, Charles?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Charles Brown, Business Services Representative and Reentry Coordinator with the Workforce Development Board. Thanks, Crawford.
Okay, thank you much, Charles. And I noticed Alyssa Robinson. Would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning. Elisa Robinson with the Office of Supervisor Diane Burgess. Good to see you guys.
Thank you, Alyssa. And, oh my goodness, Michelle, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, my name is Michelle Sinnott Peterson. I am an advocate for organizations that work in community-based gun violence initiatives.
And she failed to mention that she's just applied to be a member of CAB. So, and we just read your application this morning, so impressed. And I know Evan Decker will be looking forward to interviewing you. So watch out, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next. Let's move to announcements. Are there any announcements? Let me ask again, are there any announcements, just to make sure we give appropriate time? Not hearing any announcements, let's move to see if there is any public comment on any, yes.
Jill has her hand raised.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna ask, I didn't see anything on the agenda about the transitioning to in-person meetings. I wasn't sure if there was going to be an update from staff on that issue. It was just discussed at the Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday, or Tuesday.
That is correct. So today was the day that we were going to respond back to the clerk of the board. Patrice has done that, and she will be on the call shortly, and I'll let her give further information because she responded to the clerk of the board. So, but thank you for that. And we did discuss it. I had the agenda set before we were able to respond.
Thank you, Jill. We'll look forward to Patrice's comments. Any other announcements? Let's then proceed with any other public comment on any item under the jurisdiction of CAB and that's not currently on our agenda. Is there any other items? Do you see any hands being raised there? I don't see them on my screen, Monique, but I want to make sure we.
No, I don't show any, see any hands raised either.
Okay, fine. None being heard or no other comments. Let's now move to item number 3, which is the approval of the record of actions from our January 12th meeting, which was basically day 1 of our retreat. Would you put that up briefly? And my assumption is, for those of you who are new, we will scroll through this quickly. The intent is we send these minutes to you earlier, and we really don't want to waste a lot of time going through those. So kindly read those notes prior to attending the meeting. And if you have any comments, observations, then please provide those. Are there any comments or observations for the January 12th meeting? May I have a motion for approval?
This is
This is
Lanita.
Nicole. Oh, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 12th.
Thank
And-
you. Sir.
And this is, yeah, this is Nicole. I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Is there any public comment? Would you please call the vote?
Okay. Crawford,
Aye.
Nicole,
Sorry, can I mute? Aye.
Lanita,
Aye.
Ozzy,
Aye.
Brenda,
Aye.
Latanya,
Aye.
Reverend Van Hook,
Aye.
Raina,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Evan,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. Let's move to the next item on the agenda. Would you call that? We're on item number 4. There we are. Oh,
Hold on, I gotta go to
yeah,
the
okay.
next set, sorry.
Oh.
Okay, here we are.
Okay, item number 4 is the approval of the record of actions from our January 13th meeting, which was our second day of our retreat. If you'll scroll through those briefly. Might I ask that we now have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from the meeting on that date, day 2 of our orientation.
And this is Ozzy Carter, and I second that.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Ozzy. Any discussion by the board? None being heard. Any public comment or discussion? None being heard or identified. Please call the vote.
Okay, Crawford,
Yes.
Nicole,
Aye.
Lanita,
Aye.
Ozzy,
Aye.
Brenda,
Aye.
Latanya,
Aye.
Reverend Van Hook.
All I did, the mistake I did is I had NK instead
Nicole,
of
can you
NL.
mute yourself,
Yes,
Nicole?
I'm sorry. Apologize.
That's okay. Reverend Van Hook,
Aye.
Raina,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Evan,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. May we move to item number 5 on the agenda?
Okay, just
And,
one second.
Okay, yeah, if you'd put that up first on the master agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, item number 5, you can see what our heading here is: to appoint CAB representatives for various meetings. And please note the following, that there are various organizations and committees whose input might be valuable to our work. Monique has provided, as you can see on the screen here, has provided us with a list of those various entities. We are asking that each of you consider becoming the point person or a point person for one of these organizations. Monique, would you kindly go through the list?
Yes. So the external meetings that we have are QAC, Quality Assurance Committee, the Holistic Intervention Partnership, HIP, the Reentry Success Committee, it's a steering committee, or center, I'm sorry, it's a steering committee. Measure X for CAB, Racial Justice Oversight Body, our job, Board of Supervisors, and Public Protection Committee, PPC, and the Community Corrections Partnership, CCP, and also the Contra Costa Council on Homelessness.
Okay.
Ozzy has her hand raised.
Yes, Ozzy, start it off.
Yes, I just have a question. Prior to the meeting, I was kind of going through the agenda and looking at the various committees that, thank you, Monique, for addressing those. I was also looking for the days and the times because hopefully, kind of to see what our schedules are around that specific meeting. And if you have those dates and times, if you could share that with us.
Okay, I don't have the dates and times at this point, which is a great comment because that makes perfect sense, but I can definitely provide you with that with the entire board with that information.
And you know what, just a minute before we go to who was next, Nicole and then Jill or whatever. Before we do that, let's also make sure when we get the dates and times, we should have some bullets as to which each of these organizations or entities are involved in.
Okay.
So that, yeah, we
Can I make one comment? Jamie, thank you for putting in the chat that the Council on Homelessness meets the first Thursday of the month from 1 to 3 p.m. And they'll be meeting in person in March.
Well, can I just jump in here? Because I think what I have to say is pertinent to the decisions going forward. And
absolutely.
I hate to jump ahead of Nicole, if you don't mind, Nicole. So, Jamie threw that in there, and really what the Board of Supervisors, the Board of Supervisors meetings will remain available virtually for people to attend those virtually. You don't have to do that in person, as well as the Board of Supervisors subcommittee meetings like PPC, Public Protection, will remain the ability to attend virtually. I think which makes a difference if you're talking about driving to a place versus just watching online. And that is the goal for our advisory bodies as well, is to ensure that there's a space for these advisory bodies to hold their meetings so that people can continue to participate and attend virtually, not necessarily the membership, but definitely the public. So that's the goal. And we're working super hard through our clerk of the board's office to provide those opportunities and allow people to continue virtual participation.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Jill. That's important because, many people are working, and to leave work to go to a meeting that you could look at on Zoom, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you again, Jill. Let's move to Nicole. You had a comment, then Rena.
Well, yeah, I had a question for this particular item on the agenda. Are you going to ask us just who wants to volunteer for what, or how are we going to pick which one?
Well, I think just a minute, let me answer your question. I think for Nicole, we need more information. We need to get days, times, and some bullets. So maybe this is an item that'll be next steps that it can be laid out,
okay.
For the board members for the next meeting.
I do have some times for several of the meetings. I did a due diligence and went through that and looked several of them up. If you'd like to get just a briefing prior to the hard copy from Monique.
Okay, go ahead then.
We continue. Okay, for the Quality Assurance Committee, QAC, the meeting date is Tuesday between the hours of 3 and 4:30. I wasn't able to really hone in on the holistic intervention partnership that's affiliated with the Public Defender's Office, nor the Reentry Success Center's steering committee. The Measure X CAB is held on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. I don't have anything for our Racial Justice Oversight Body, RJOB, as of yet. Board of Supervisors is generally on a Tuesday, and that starts generally around 9. The Public Protection Committee, PPC's Monday at 10:30 a.m., according to the agendas that I was looking at. And the Community Corrections Partnership, Friday from 10:30 to 12. And as someone included, the Council on Homelessness, the first Thursday every month from 1 to 3 p.m.
This is out for me. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ozzy. Now, wait a minute, who was next? Rena, you were next. Did you have a question? And then we'll get the others.
Well, I just wanted to volunteer to do the Council of Homelessness. I kind of already wanted to go to those meetings anyway, so I could do
Excellent.
those.
Okay, would you make note of that, please, Monique? We've got a volunteer there already. And then, wait a minute, let's go. Now, I think, Jill, you were next. Yes, yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say some of those meetings are shifting just slightly, like Racial Justice Oversight Body is on hiatus right now until the new membership is appointed. So those are quarterly meetings. And then the Measure X is monthly, but might be going to quarterly. So some of those things are shifting, but if you go on the agenda system on the Board of Supervisors website, you can sign up for agendas to be sent to you so that you'll always know when those meetings are.
Thank you again, Jill. Nicole.
Quick question for you. So I was going to volunteer for Quack because I've done that in the past couple of
Good. That's 2 down.
years. And then I was going to ask you, can you volunteer for more than one or just one? Or how does that work? Is it the same as our CAB meeting? Like how many can you join? So say, for example, if I wanted to join the same one that ran it, can I join as just public and not CAB? Or can it be more than one CAB person on there? Or how does that work?
Nicole, if you want to join 2 of them, I say have at it. I mean,
Okay.
are you kidding? Hey, by the way, you want to do 3?
Well, but also to answer your question, Nicole, there's one CAB appointee to Quack, but you certainly can attend as public if
Okay,
somebody
perfect.
else is already in that seat.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Lanita. I don't know how to raise
Volunteer
my hand.
for Measure X CAB, Community Advisory Board.
I'm not so, just a minute. Would you repeat that, please, Ozzy? I think you broke up a little bit.
Oh, certainly. I would like to volunteer for the Measure X Community Advisory Board that meets on Wednesday, unless it's changing, but I'd like to participate there if possible.
Excellent. Are there any?
Just so you know, this month's meeting has been canceled, Ozzy, for Measure X.
Thank you. Okay, now Monique, what do you have so far?
So what I have is Nicole for Quack, which Nicole had volunteered for Quack prior to the meeting. Rena for the Council on Homelessness, Ozzy for Measure X CAB, and that is all I was able to capture at this point.
I think Nicole had 2.
Well, she okay, so I want to make a point on that. So yes, all of you can attend the different meetings. You want to be mindful of quorum. 2 people, it's fine. But you might want to also consider like alternates. So for instance, if Rena couldn't attend that meeting, Nicole, because she is attending or she has an interest in attending, she could maybe fill in for Rena in her absence. So you might want to consider that as well. It's not necessarily in the bylaws per se, but or in the operating guidelines, but you might want to think about that. So and I would also add one more thing to that. if you all that are the representatives for these different external committees, and if you're not going to be able to attend and you don't have an alternate per se, you might want to reach out to the other members to see if they can fill in for you to do the report out. You know, just like with Board of Supervisors, you know, Jill has graciously been, and Elisa too, they both have graciously filled us in because, you know, members are not always able to attend those meetings. But I also guess I want to add this too, is that Crawford, generally, the CAB should be attending so many of the, I know it's a CCP and PPC. I'm not sure if Board of Supervisors is part of that, but it will be coordinated, a coordinated effort for them to attend, I think, at least half of the meetings throughout the year. And how that's how the logistics of that is, I'm not sure, but that is what generally has been done in the past. So I know that there's still hands raised, Lenita and Evan. I'm not sure who was first, but yeah, those are the people I have, Ozzy, Nicole, and Rena.
And I'll do an alternate for Rena, or you can just put me down as an alternate. I don't mind if someone can't make a call. If I am available, I'll be willing to join. I'm trying to join more calls this year, Crawford.
Okay. All right, Lenita, why don't we go to Lenita and then Evan?
Okay, so I am interested in the Reentry Success Center Steering Committee.
And I'd like to add to that, so that meeting has been kind of intermittent. So they do have a meeting coming up on March 8th, and it's in the morning. It may be 10 to 12, and I can get that information because I also attend that meeting too for CAB overall. I mean, ORJ, I'm sorry, in Patrice's absence. So
thank you.
Great. And just a minute, anything else, Lenita, before we move to Evan?
No, that's it.
Thank you, Lenita. Evan.
And I was gonna offer to be an alternate then for Lenita at the Reentry Success, but hearing Monique is going, I'm happy to attend it as well for that. And hearing that they're intermittent, I really think having the schedule will be so helpful to see. And I appreciate, Monique, the idea of the alternates. That's always reassuring to know.
Yes. Okay. Are there any other thoughts or individuals that have found a particular entity that they might want to attend a meeting and represent CAB after hearing what we've been discussing so far? Anyone else? And I don't see, oh, just a minute. Go ahead, Scott. I see you.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the Holistic Intervention Partnership. I didn't hear a date thrown out for that in time, but if you have no takers, that is a program that I feel near and dear to.
Excellent then. I attended, by the way, 1 or 2 meetings last year. And then they had a lot of cancellations where you, so, but,
Yeah.
but the mere fact that you're available is excellent. Thank you so much, Scott.
Yes.
Any others? Okay, are we ready to move to the next item? And Monique, before we go to the next item, you'll make a list of individuals that have stepped up to the plate. And then what we'll do is I'll get with you and we'll also make sure we put a list together of the times, the days, be it quarterly, monthly, whatever. And then maybe if we could put 1 or 2 bullets as to what the entity is engaged in. So thank you, Monique.
you're welcome. Absolutely. Lenita has her hand raised, but I'm not sure if that's from earlier.
Nope, it was from earlier, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Now let's move to the next item. This is item number 6. And this here is basically to survey the group to determine when I say the group, that is our CAB board here, to see if there might be interest in having a meeting at one of our jail sites. Now, we'll have to see if this might be feasible based on constraints that we may not be aware of, but may exist within our county system. But the first step is to kind of poll the members to see if there's interest. Brenda, yes.
Yes, I'm interested, definitely.
Thank you. And that would be now a person, that would be an on-site visit for everybody. And then we would try to construct the meeting so that hopefully we could hear from those that are currently incarcerated near being returning to society. So we hear directly from individuals to find out, what do you need? I know we hear it from individuals and outsiders. I think my point was, I want to talk to an insider. Anybody else that has interest? Nicole?
So Crawford, I'm sorry.
No, two hands are raised. That's what I wanted to say. Nicole and Scott.
So Crawford, I work in here. I'm already in the jail. So I would definitely volunteer. But I know there's a process to get in here. It has to go through a clearance.
Yep.
So if you have any questions about that, you could definitely reach out to me, and my manager is on the call as well. Jody's not on here. I know, but I always, I'm sorry, she's talking to me. It has to go through Jody, but I always put Jan in front of everything. But I would definitely volunteer, because through our program, that's exactly what we do, is we're working with individuals before they get out. So we actually, that's our goal. We track what their needs are, get them connected to all of these services through the reentry. So I know Jana did a presentation before, but maybe Monique, she can do another one for the full CAB, so everyone can know who she is. But I'll be more than happy to, as a CAB member, make that connection and help anyway, Crawford.
Okay, good. Scott?
So I think it's a great idea, and you certainly have my vote and support to host a meeting at one of our detention facilities. The only question I had is that would this be a public meeting like these are, and would the facility be able to support us in having it be a public meeting?
Well, those are, I think, some things we'll have to walk through, talk through, because I think hey, we'd have to see how, from a technology standpoint, we could make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me, Scott, I'm sorry.
No, that sounds good. You certainly, I think it would be great.
Okay, Latanya?
I am interested in it, and I think I may already be approved because I go on there on Monday nights from Jody. Thank you.
Okay, and I think Jill, you're next.
Having experience with this because I've been on several tours with the Mental Health Commission. Just like they said, you submit a list of people and then they clear them. But as far as having a meeting, it couldn't be open to the public, so that I don't think would happen. And also tours are prohibited from speaking to the individuals who are within the detention system. So just to keep it real, that has been the policy from the sheriff's office through all of the tours that I have done with various groups. But definitely a tour of West County and Martinez can be done. It's very interesting, and I encourage everyone to participate that can.
Okay. Well, you know what, Jill, thank you for mentioning that. My original thought was, let's just have a meeting there. Now you upped the ante a little bit and included a tour.
Well, because you can't have a meeting there. Bottom line, you can't have the public there. You can't have a meeting that would be open to the public. So that wouldn't work.
I see. Okay. Well, we'll see what we can do then. So maybe we'll have to figure out some type of way. I guess what's kind of interesting, I've had a tour of the Martinez facility when I went through some training. And now this was in 2019, I think. And we did have access to the inmates. And I attended with a group. It was the a Citizens Police Academy, and we did have access to inmates, but maybe things have changed, Jill. So I understand that. Okay, anybody else that would have interest?
I'm
Yeah,
definitely open to that as well.
Okay, so maybe where we are is we'll have to figure out, maybe we have a tour, and then maybe after our tour, we have the meeting, maybe in Martinez or something. Maybe we could figure that out, which would be our public meeting, maybe something of that nature. But
Alfred,
go ahead, please.
I have a quick question for you. Outside of the meeting and doing the tour, and forgive me if I missed this part. I believe I heard you make a comment of also getting data from the inmates of understanding you want to know what their needs are, right?
Yeah.
Is there maybe we could figure another way about gathering that data? There's a few of us that's already here. Maybe that's something we can table on how to collect that data if that's something that CAB is looking for, right?
Yes, okay. And again, hey, I guess the whole point is we're going to have to find another way to skin the cat, and let's be open to it. That's all. Anybody else? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us. And some others, we haven't heard from you.
I'm happy to participate. I think that's a great activity.
Yeah, I've got your name down, Justin. Okay. All right. Any other comments?
Well, I just would like for the record to say I'm very interested. There could be some logistics issues. I've gone into West County Jail and there was a situation around that. I went in as with an outside organization, sharing my experience, strength, and hope as a formerly incarcerated individual. And it wasn't received that great. And
okay. Well,
and I don't know why, because it was my experience, strength, and hope with the justice system. So that's a discussion for another day.
yes, okay, but again, that's the whole point of this discussion. Is it something feasible? I think Jill, she made some excellent points. Nicole, she's made some points, and you have an observation, Ozzy, because you've been there. I've been through the facility myself, and hey, I thought it was a moving experience, interesting. But that may not be the case for other people that are on the call. So again, a discussion point to see if it has legs and to see if it's something we want to move forward with. So maybe the question is, do we want to move forward with this in some form or fashion? And I think based on what we've heard from Ozzy, Brenda, Nicole, Scott, myself, Latanya, and Justin, that says those are enough to say that we should possibly move forward with discussions and see if we want to make this happen. Are there any other comments? Okay, then let's move to the next item. And thank you, by the way. Next item here. I think we're on what? Item number 7. Boy, we're rolling along here today. Okay, item number 7 here is referring to items. Are there any items, let's provide some context. Many of you on this call participated in our retreat, our 2-day retreat. And in that retreat, we went over our operating guidelines. And we tried to just, point out highlights. And at this point, we're asking, are there any items of particular interest that you might want to pursue? For example, we have certain responsibilities, the certain focuses. I'm looking to get a sense. if there is an area where you might be particularly passionate for or in and would like to proceed with action. Also, I want to point out that these have been amended, as you can see on your screen, and they're currently at the county attorney's office for review. So we have tried to make some progress. And in reviewing our past guidelines, what we were able to do is to make some recommendations. We're waiting on council to approve those, to make it easier for our standing committees to conduct business regarding quorums. Any comments from you, Monique, before we go to the group and we find out if there are any areas that individual members have a particular passion for? Any comments?
Yes. So as you stated, it was amended on October 13th. We had an ad hoc committee at one point prior to that, and the leaders didn't necessarily land on the changes at that point, but then other members continued to work together to try to update areas in the operating guidelines where we could see it posed problems for the meetings to happen. So most of it was really around quorum. And so what we've done with the CAB members, previous and present CAB members, as well as ORJ, is we've worked to look, and I think Jill Ray also has been able to be a great source of research for us too, and to look at other boards in the county to see what their bylaws or operating guidelines state. So what I've done is I've followed up with our county council person who's assigned to our to CAB, and it's being reviewed. And what we've done is we look at other bodies, as I stated. I believe it's the Council on Homelessness and the Council on Aging, I believe, are the two that we looked at. Some of the areas in their bylaws where we can, try to rectify the situation so that we don't have to cancel meetings. And I think that's probably where we had the most issues of people attending meetings, but we weren't able to provide a quorum. And so therefore, it just didn't work. So we're really trying to see if we can fix that problem, because people do spend a lot of time prepping and planning for the meeting. If we don't have the meeting, sure, you have that time back, but it could be an inconvenience, and the work is not getting done. We have to continue to carry the work over. So that's the gist of it.
Thank you. Let's go back then to the original, or to our opening question. Are there any areas that you have a particular passion for that this board might address? Are there any areas based on our guidelines/bylaws?
This is Reverend Julius Fanhook. What about connecting specifically with the faith community as a like an initiative, a part of what we do with the community specifically?
Okay, so connecting I'll write this down. I hope you're writing this down too, Monique. Connecting with the faith community.
Yeah, faith-based. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And that way, programs and
excuse
information can get out to a broader base of people.
Okay, when you say connecting with the faith community, could you elaborate on that a little more? For example, are you saying we should be sharing more with the faith community, the churches, etc., about what's going on at CAB? Was that your intent, or
Yes, that's my intent, so that we would be able to engage more broader, a diverse group of people from the county.
Okay,
so many different types of faith traditions and whatnot, just at least sharing information, may spark interest, public interest. And
Okay,
concern.
excellent suggestion. Reverend Van Hook, just as we identified Board of Supervisors, state representatives, state senators, and every city in Contra Costa County, we have the name, phone number, and email. Can we work with you through OCEC? And let's identify our houses of worship, of faith, and let's get them on that doggone list that Monique sends out. I mean, that's an excellent idea.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, so we can then work with you. Evan and I
Yes.
will get with you and we'll figure out where there is a directory, and we'll get that in a format that we can then communicate with the faith community. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Evan, you've got some more work now. Okay.
Looking
Anybody?
forward to it.
Okay, Evan. Is there anybody else that would like to see something, again now, based on our guidelines, an area that you're particularly passionate with? And if there is, such as what Reverend Van Hook has suggested, by George, we can sure take a shot at it.
I just have a point of clarification, Crawford. I think if I remember correctly, historically, there was concern over like attendance and participation, specifically in the subcommittee meetings for board members. I don't know if it would be helpful to include something in the bylaws that kind of notes, I know it says we're required, but kind of what's the trajectory if people fail to participate at a certain rate, just so that we can expedite people to be included who are willing and able to participate in the meetings.
Yeah, that provision is in there where you have to attend, what is it? It is either 3 or 4 meetings. If you miss the 4th meeting, then you would.
Oh, I see it, section 4. Okay,
Yes,
great, thank you.
Yeah, you know, we wanted to address that, and it's a ticklish area, Justin, because these are volunteers. But if we have individuals who are alternates, who have the ability to participate more than a voting member, it's like, what's the expression? We got to look in the mirror to see if we're getting our bang for our buck, so to speak. So, okay.
So that includes, it just states regular meetings though. I think and I may be misspoken, but I think I remember the concern was around subcommittee meetings. I don't know if that wants to be included into that language.
Yes. You know what? I'd have to look at it again. I'd hate to just look at it now, but
yeah, no worries.
Would you be kind enough to make that note? And maybe
Absolutely.
while we're currently in contact with the gentleman at the county's office, we can see if it's appropriate to address that also. And it may not be, or we may not be able, but just for your information, one of the changes in the bylaws that we are proposing is, let's say we don't have a quorum on policy and budget. If I happen to be at that meeting, or if Nicole happens to be at that meeting, and I believe Lanita, I think it was for officers, then they would, on a temporary basis only, be a temporary member, so you can conduct business, but then right after that meeting is over, then they're automatically off of that
I
committee.
think that's great.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we were really fighting for. And in fact, we got hung up because we were trying to say if we could have any member of CAB that happened to be listening, but we didn't get a lot of traction on that one, but we'll see how that goes. So did that answer your question, Justin?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you, Crawford.
Okay, thank you. Before we move to the next item, any other comments, observation? This is your this is your time to speak if you would like. Okay, why don't we move to the next agenda item, Monique? And we're on agenda item number 8. So we don't, yeah, we can get away from our bylaws or guidelines
Okay.
if you
So
would.
as I'm scrolling up to the top of the agenda, the next item is the report from the Board of Supervisors meeting. And I know generally you've asked Jill,
Yes.
maybe Elisa. So as I'm scrolling, you can see if they have anything to
Okay,
share.
why don't we start with our ex-official member, Jill? Do you have any comments for us?
I do. I just went through and found just a few things of interest. There's nothing significant business-wise that's happened at the board since your last meeting, but on January 10th, the Board of Supervisors did go through the reorganization and elected a new chair and reassigned people to the subcommittee. So there were some changes there. They had the Veterans Day celebration on January 17th, which all of this is on video, so anybody could go back and watch any of that. It was a great celebration. January 24th was the Board of Supervisors retreat. Super interesting presentation on the financial projections for the year going forward and some ideas about budgeting and all of the rest, county budgeting. And February 7th, just this week, the Board of Supervisors proclaimed February 12th through the 18th African American Mental Health Awareness Week. A great presentation there as well. And then there was discussion and they did approve hybrid meetings through February. And then they gave an update on what was happening starting March 1st. And so direction was given to the clerk of the board to work with staff from all committees to do the best job possible to ensure that those meetings can happen in an environment where hybrid meetings are available. There's very slight restrictions or slight changes to the Brown Act on what can happen going forward for members of a body. And all of that information has been provided to staff. So there'll be a presentation probably soon telling you all what is expected of the membership for the advisory bodies. And then the Public Protection Committee just met and they approved the original slate of Racial Justice Oversight Board appointees. And so those will be put through on the February 28th Board of Supervisors agenda. So then those meetings can start happening going forward again. They did also, Public Protection did also approve the CCP budget, but there was a change from the budget since you all saw it, as well as the CCP. And they have added back in 180,000 for Stand Together because they've determined that 17% of the population helped through Stand Together does have connections to the criminal justice system. So they did fund that for 180,000 out of the AB 109 budget. And then they're shifting three public defender positions from the general fund into AB 109, which basically means the net change in the previous public defender's budget from their regular budget and Stand Together budget is now going to be taken from AB 109 in its entirety, which is that extra $1 million that was not going to be funded through AB 109 now will be funded through AB 109, but not for Stand Together, for public defender positions outside of that program. So just an FYI, there is a change to that budget ask, a little over $1 million that did not go through here or CCP, but was approved by the Public Protection Committee, and they have asked for a presentation to be done at the Board of Supervisors during budget hearings to explain that change. So that concludes my report.
Wow, thank you, Jill. And just to recognize you, Alyssa, we did see your comments in chat, but we want to make sure that you have the opportunity, since both of you represent some of our key supervisors. We always love to have input from both of you. So thank you. Appreciate it. Let's move to the next report. Evan, and this will be for outreach and community engagement, just some bullets as to what you covered.
Yeah, in our meeting, we reviewed our work plan. We did make a few potential updates. We decided also with the support of Scott that we will look at the CAB onboarding process, including the retreat that was held, to make sure that we're able to build in knowledge and consistency to help with retention over the members' terms. We also looked at what we just did today around the various supportive committees around the county and who could attend. And at our next meeting, we are going to continue our discussion around the onboarding, as well as making sure that we finish going through the work plan. I think that was about it.
Thank you, Evan. Short, sweet, and succinct.
I see maybe Jamie has a question.
Oh,
Yeah, I did. So as I said, I am with Health, Housing, and Homeless Services, but we also staff the Council on Homelessness. I think I emailed, I'm trying to remember, Monique. So our the equity committee of our Council on Homelessness is building out a big list of what we're calling amplifiers. So essentially providers, agencies, folks in the community that may be having interactions with people at risk of homelessness. Because we are doing a big revise of a lot of our communication materials about like how to access services, what to expect. And I have a feeling that a lot of the people on that list probably overlap with a lot of the folks you're also trying to do outreach with. So I wanted to see who was the best person to check in with from that committee to sort of look at our list and make sure we're capturing everybody that you could think of too. Essentially, like if we had a flyer about like, here's how to access homeless services, or here's basically, you know, groups, people, agencies working with folks at risk, to make sure that everybody has the information about what services are available, how to connect, all of that. So the short question is, who is the best person that's doing this work for your field? Monique, that's you. Great. Oh, I can't hear you.
You're on mute. Monique, you're on
But
mute.
it's you.
So I wanted to make a comment. So it's not necessarily me, but I wanted to let you know what we've done as a result of receiving your list. So Patrice and I reviewed it, and we were going to, when you say the best person, I think personally, the best persons to look at that list is during our agenda planning meetings with CAB and the CAB leaders.
Okay.
And then, of course, along with ORJ. So we meet with the chairs monthly to develop the next month's agenda. And so what I believe it probably would fall under outreach and community engagement, because that's currently where we've been modifying a list, right, Crawford? So
Yes.
I would say your list, which was a great list, it had a lot of, and it also had a lot of faith-based contacts. So I did notice that as we were going through the list. So I think that the chairs at the agenda planning meeting could review that list. And then once the chair of that committee says, well, let's put it on our subcommittee, and this is all hypothetical, right? But I would suggest that they probably put it on the subcommittee agenda to have the members review it, and then we see who's actually on and incorporate it with our current list. So essentially bringing those two lists together, and then, you know, weeding out the duplicates. So I that's what I would propose, but Patrice and I are still in discussion about it.
Okay, well, just let me know if there's any way I can support that, and we can come to the meeting and talk through what we're looking at. But that's great. I figure we're doing similar work and want to give you what we have and want to hear what you have. So don't be creative.
Absolutely. Is that okay, Crawford? What I said?
Oh,
I mean, that's what I think. That's what I think. So.
Heavens, yes. Okay. Any other comments from OC regarding Evan Decker and OCEC? All right, then, by the way, thank you, Evan. This is his first opportunity to sit in the chair's position for OCEC, so we thank you for that, Evan.
I appreciate it. I have a fabulous tutor.
Scott did a hell of a job, didn't he?
Yeah. You're thanking them. I'm thanking them even more.
Let's go to the next one then. This will be a report from Programs and Services. And again, we have a new chair of this committee. That's Ozzie Carter. Thank you, Ozzie, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Crawford. And I'm just wanting to say I have really big shoes to fill. But, you know, I have a great team. We're working together and we're going to do some tremendous work this year. First of all, I'd like to say that at our meeting, we reviewed and updated the membership at a glance, which primarily is a breakout of each committee and those roles assigned. And one of the objectives for that was to really kind of engage each of our subcommittee members to be flexible and, if time permitted, to really engage themselves in the other subcommittees, because a lot of those, specifically from my experience, policy and budget and the outreach committee, we all kind of intersect at different points. So I thought it was a good idea that we all participate in attending some of the other meetings if we had that space in our calendar. We also reviewed the program and services charter, and all of the members agreed to keep the existing items but made a commitment to review the list periodically throughout the year to make any changes as they deem necessary. We then took a look at items from our 2022 program and services work plan to determine what to keep, what to modify, what to change, and our new goals and objectives. And we are making headway. Our members have actually contributed their passions to the process, with mental health being a priority, also ADA compliance, also implicit bias, and also having our CBOs come in and do presentations. So we're kind of like, we have a broad base of things that we want to do within our work plan, but it's a process. So we're going to take it bit by bit. You know, you can't eat the elephant all at once. Upcoming, one of the things that we have solidified is implicit bias training. And I'd like to take a little minute and kind of explain that process and why it's become part of our work plan and what we want to see and how it should be viewed from our perspective as a board, but not only the board members' implicit bias, but also our CBOs and how those things are showing up. We really want to also be mindful of increasing our cultural competency. And that is also included within the implicit bias piece. So I guess it kind of says it all. We do have a lot of work to do, and we have a great team that's willing to pursue the work that's cut out in front of us.
Any questions for Ozzie from Programs and Services? Or comments, observations?
I just have a quick question, Ozzie. Are you considering opening up that training to the rest of the group, the implicit bias training, or is that something that you're focusing just on the subcommittee?
Thank you so much, Justin, for that. I'm sorry that I wasn't complete in my explanation. We are scheduled to have an implicit bias trainer come in and do a presentation on our next full CAB meeting on March 9th. We have an agency community partnership that's going to be doing a presentation. So everything is forthcoming, and they will be actually explaining what implicit bias is and actually what their organization is presenting and how they handle those pieces specifically for the board and for the CBOs. And I think I got the name wrong. I think it's Community Village. Miss Tanya Jacobs and her cohort, Miss D. Nicole. You have to please excuse me on the names, but these individuals are going to do a presentation on the 9th of March.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Any other comments or questions for Ozzy's Programs and Services Standing Committee? None being said or heard, let's move then to, by the way, thank you again for stepping up, Ozzy, to be the chair of this standing committee. It's most appreciated. Let's move to the next standing committee. That would be Policy and Budget. And my wing person, Nicole Marie Green.
Thank you. And I was going to say, Ozzy, very proud of you. You're a hard act to follow. I have to get more prepared, but great job. Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Green. I'm going to give a quick update from our Policy and Budget Subcommittee meeting. I'm very excited. I have two new subcommittee members on board with me to come with some fresh ideas and give feedback on how we could, look at the recommendations we did last year and some ideas going forward. So our main focus for our very first call was to look over our documents and revise the work plan. So initially what we wanted to do is kind of look over I wanted to get everyone up to speed to kind of look at our recommendations and our budgets that we did last year to kind of give them an idea of what CAB as a whole on how we broke down those recommendations in more detail in reference to like the pre-release and the disabilities and unemployment. So we really focused on what CAB as a whole is trying to achieve. For the year, we looked over our work plan. We will continue to look at our work plan on our next call. We are currently revising, changing some of the wording. The members have some great ideas of kind of breaking down in a simpler form of what we're asking for in our outcomes. So we're really focusing on what are the outcomes that we want to achieve from policy and budget. And we will be reviewing that on our next call. Let's see, we did discuss briefly, we looked over the budget and recommendations. Let's see, and we looked at our membership at a glance. So we didn't make any changes to it. We were okay with the way it was, but our main focus is to elaborate more on our work plan and go into more detail about our budget our budget recommendations that we completed last year. And that was it. Yeah, that was it.
Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Okay, any comments or questions for Nicole? Want to make sure we give everyone an opportunity to ask her questions. We want to put you on the, we want to highlight you again, Nicole. We're not going to let you get away, but looks like you're in good shape. Okay, let's move then. Item number 9 on the agenda. We want to review some of the updates from our ambassador meetings. Monique, would you please share some of the comments, from our ambassador meetings? And the key here is that they might be of value to our standing committees as the standing committees are preparing their work plans. Most important, some of our meetings didn't take place. What's the expression I can use here? No harm, no foul. Let's use those instances as learning experiences, and let's prioritize those meetings going forward. So out of a fellow I used to work for, a gentleman, his name was Chuck Kupperschmidt. He said, out of everything bad comes something good. So the something good is going to be, we're going to prioritize those that we missed at the end of last year. So any comments from you, Monique, please?
Absolutely. So what I want to say is that although we don't believe all of the meetings took place, some of the meetings may have taken place and we just don't have the report. So that'll be a point of clarification. Nicole has her hand raised, so maybe do you want her to comment first before I
go
go
ahead,
through
Nicole.
the summary that we came up with?
So I just had a question. We have some really awesome additions to CAB this year. And I've been here, this is my 3rd year, and just some feedback for the ambassador. I mean, is there any way when we get to that point in the year that we can have like a conversation around the next steps to make sure that everyone understands what they're supposed to do? Also, the notes that you've done with Dale and Ozzy, for me, were a great help for talking points. If that, I don't know if that'll be helpful for new people, but it was really great to have that. Because I know last year some people may have been a little bit confused on what to do. So how can we make it like a little bit more easier for the new folks when we get to that part?
I think we will, and we'll work with Scott, who had considerable experience, and Devin, who heads up that committee for OCEC. The toolkit this last year, this was our 1st year. So that means we may have to tweak it a little bit, or tweak how we present it, spend a little more time so that those who will have the meetings with the various individuals in the county will have a little more confidence and feel a little better as they approach those meetings. So we got to crawl, then we'll walk, and then we'll run. So we'll see how we do. Thank you, though, Nicole.
Okay, I'll proceed. One thing to Crawford's credit, he would like to focus. Okay, the overall objective of this is that the meetings bring out a lot of important, pertinent information as you're engaging with the county agencies. And so he felt like the notes from the meetings could be beneficial as you're updating your work plan. So you might want to incorporate some of that information into your work plan. So that's probably the number one objective. The second thing is that as we are seeing that some of the meetings may not have taken place, or we didn't receive the report, or the report is in cyberspace. We don't know exactly what happened, but we really want to focus on the agencies that did not, that we didn't receive information or data from. And we want to put a special emphasis and highlight that we really ensure that those agencies are either the meetings are attended, and then also that the information is brought back to CAB. So those are, so like we have, I'll just mention a few things as you asked me, Crawford. So from Supervisor Burgess, some of the things that were stated with the CAB representatives were, we need more data in the area of disabilities as they pertain to returning citizens. We should have a presentation on Laura's Law in order to learn more about it, which I'm not familiar with that. So that's good. I can research that. But that's something that was highlighted in the notes. There is also a housing trust fund where funds may be available for programs. Most important being bring forth an idea that might help in a given area. Let's look at an idea and don't fear failure. So those are some of the highlights from that exchange with Supervisor Burgess. So do you want me to go through each one, Crawford, or just kind of pause and let?
Well, why don't we just pause there? I don't think we need to read all of them. I think most important is to give everybody heads up. You're going to get these doggone things. And by George, read them, look at them. If they assist you in your standing committee, then we've done the right thing. If they don't assist you, well, guess what? You have some general information. So no matter what, it's a win-win. And let me give you an example of the follow-up that we are trying to get engaged with. We had a supervisor, I believe that retired, et cetera. Was that Mitchoff?
Yes.
And the new supervisor is Carlson. So we couldn't exactly get a meeting with Mitchoff because she said she was leaving. Well, you'll love this. We had a gentleman whose name was Terry. He couldn't get that meeting and he's no longer on this board. He was kind enough to send that information to us. And he copied the incoming supervisor's office. We have been able to get in touch with his office. It's now Supervisor Carlson. And we have a meeting scheduled with Scott, myself, and Evan is going to be in the mix here. And we are going to go over and present to him the PowerPoint that Scott's committee put together, as well as the recommendations. We're just going to highlight the 6 recommendations that we made. And we've already got a meeting set up. So we're going to literally onboard a new supervisor and hopefully bring him up to speed. So that's kind of the result of these ambassador meetings and how we're trying to learn from them. Nothing's bad, and we want to make things better if at all possible. So just wanted to share that with the group. And thank you, Scott, for willing to join me on the 22nd. And Evan, you're going to be in the mix on this too, hopefully as a fly on the wall. So thank you. Any other comments or questions in this area?
I want to state that Jill has put the information in the chat for Laura's Law. Thank you, Jill, for always coming through with the research. And Michelle also put some information about for those who work with housing challenges. She came across this grant from the county through Measure X funds, and she put the link here. So thank you so much, Michelle, for that. Very helpful.
Thank you. Okay, we're coming down the home stretch here. We've had and discussed our ambassador updates and how we want to move forward. It's not here kind of on the agenda, but I'll just ask a question. Are there any comments prior to adjourning?
Well, I would just add, since Patrice isn't here to update on the advisory body meetings going forward, just be aware that after February 28th, all meetings will be in person for members of advisory bodies.
Does that include standing committees also?
Yes,
okay.
All advisory bodies and standing committees need to be in person with the quorum of the group, and there are exceptions for people who maybe have a childcare issue or an illness. So there are exceptions that can be used a couple times a year. But Monique has the details from the clerk of the board. It's pretty complex, and she also has a chart that they just released to help understand. But just to be aware, starting March 1st, everyone should anticipate that the meetings will be in person and a location to be determined.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other comments before we move off or move on? Any other comments?
I'll make a comment. So yes, Jill, thank you so much for stating that. We are still working with the clerk of the board and responding to the initial email that we received and what the requirements are on our end. So as we get more information, we definitely will, and we're going to address the board. But also I want to congratulate you, Crawford. You did a great job today, as well as all the other members. It's 11:24. And so you definitely expedited this meeting very well.
Well, thank you, Monique. And again, most important, thank you to everybody that has participated and taken time out of their schedules to attend this meeting. Time is like capital, it's precious. So thank you very much. Let me just...
If I could add one more thing, thank you, Jill, for putting the next PPC meeting on in the chat as well. So the PPC did meet on Monday the 6th, but we didn't have that information prior to posting the agenda. So, I'm sure we can definitely provide you with an update on what was discussed. We can provide the agenda. Some of you may have received it, but the next one is Monday, March 6th, and I will definitely update it on the agendas that were coming up to be posted before your meetings.
Okay,
I would just add to that. So that is the regular time will be Mondays at 10:30 a.m. The first Monday of the month is the regular time. And Monique is correct. That agenda didn't come out until I think late Thursday or something. And then the other thing is the CCP, the next meeting will either be in March or April. It has not been scheduled yet, but just keep your eyes open for that one. So that'll be coming up.
okay. Well, thank you for those additional comments, observations, etc. Let me conclude with the following. As we're approaching the coming year, it's incumbent on all of us to engage in critical thinking. Let me say that again. It's incumbent upon all of us to engage in critical thinking. Just because something has been done a certain way in the past does not mean that will be our future path forward. And as always, we represent those with a limited voice. Let's ensure that their voice will be heard. And with those comments, let's adjourn our meeting to March 9th at 10 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.